Hey, I'm Boy Soda, and I'm here chatting with Milky today. Top 5 mixtapes for me would be A Kid Named Cudi by Kid Cudi, Nostalgia Ultra by Frank Ocean, House of Balloons by The Weeknd, Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper. Am I missing one? Oh, Party Pack by Party Next Door. I love Nostalgia Ultra by Frank because I found it just after this like Lonnie Brew, the Tales of Lonnie Brew or something, and it was just like this 50-track mixtape of all these songs that he'd written or been a part of, and you can hear all these like early songwriting stuff, which was really cool when you got to Nostalgia Ultra, because he could feel like what songs were his, like the Frank Ocean songs, and then in hindsight what songs in the Lonnie Brew collection were like songs for other people. And obviously there's like uncleared Coldplay samples and Eagles samples on that record that he just dropped without asking, which was hilarious, and I think he's like a part of hip-hop culture and R&B culture anyway. I love A Kid Named Cudi by Kid Cudi because I got into his Man on the Moon album, but running backwards to those mixtapes, there was cuts like 50 Ways to Make a Record and Is There Any Love with Wale, who I also love, and I think is an underrated rapper. So just hearing those sides of Cudi as well gave me a lot of permission to like explore my range as an artist as well, because I make R&B music, but like I make a lot of music that I don't think I can really define by genre and can only be categorized by like having me, the artist, Boy Soda, as the common denominator for that stuff. So all of these little mixtapes kind of fed into me having this mind state that I have now. Obviously House of Balloons by The Weeknd, or just like the whole trilogy in general, just you can just tell The Weeknd was just on drugs making like underground dirty Toronto music, and it was believable and like sultry, and like the essence of R&B was really there. So I love that tape, and I love the visuals for it, like the continuity, like he has little color like Pantone palettes on each version of the trilogy tapes as well. There's that Dirty Diana track, like the MJ cover, or like his version of it, and he just sounds so much like Michael in some parts. So I love the mixtapes because they show people's range, and like you can essentially drop an album under the guise of it being a mixtape, and I guess the optics of it are like, oh, it doesn't matter that much, or like it's not a heavy concept or anything like that. But I love that it gives you that permission to do that, you know, for whatever reason. And I love my mixtape that's coming out now, and it is essentially an album, but it's not an album, you know what I'm saying? There's definitely a lot of liberation in the optics of having a mixtape too. I love Acid Rap by Chance. It would just kind of introduce me to new tones of voice and characters in music as well, that I was like finding early in high school with people like Andre 3K and his like expression in his voice, like even Nicki Minaj having like alter egos and things like that. I was listening to Miguel at the time too, and he's got a lot of rock influence and like grunge in his voice, and kind of taught me how to like squeeze my vocal cords to get that same thing out. So I was definitely just in the realm of like understanding tone of voice and different textures that I could create with that. So I love Chance for that, because he's obviously got that real kind of tone going on. Again, just permission to try new shit. Party Pack by Party Next Door comes off the back of him like dropping these crazy SoundCloud releases and crazy SoundCloud flips. I think he'd released it like way after they had been on SoundCloud, and each had their own kind of moments as well. So him just acknowledging that era of music and the tactility of a SoundCloud release that feels a little bit more personal, because, you know, it's not going through a machine coming through Spotify. It feels very much like I made this idea and now it's on SoundCloud, you know, like no middleman in between. So I love Party Pack. It's got like Persian rugs on it, and obviously that's everyone's like bedroom jam and shit. So that was a very strong introduction into like the modern R&B that I love as well, and delving into like Summer Walkers and Scissors and like Bryson Tiller at the time as well. So yeah, I fucking love mixtapes. I love mixtapes, and that's why I decided to do my own one as well, because I get to show my range. There's like hip hop, soul, there's like funk elements, there's random like pop inclinations throughout all of it, but it's never like just one of those things, you know. So definitely just stepping into the hybridity of my music and my artist project and allowing that to live on a mixtape that is an album, but it isn't an album. Body is just my like sultry R&B anthem. It's inspired by like a lot of the like early like Y2K stuff that I was listening to. Those like, you know, just those songs where they're in front of the fan and then like, you know, got the crazy glasses on, the shirt's like flicked behind and stuff, and it's like, but the neighbors know my name kind of influence. So yeah, Body was just an R&B cut that I've been wanting to make for ages. I made it with Club Angel, who also has 2 other cuts on the mixtape, and I don't think we've ever made a bad song together. So it was just really fun, and you know, it's like speaking on parts of the, or like early stages in a relationship where you're like got no labels and blah blah blah, all of that, and you're like, I just want you all to myself in the most respectful way possible. Okay, so yeah, Body was my I don't know, the baby boom anthem in my head for like my catalog, and my dear friend Christoph also played guitar on that as well, and just the whole sound palette of that song just feels really special to me. And it was an R&B cut that I made that I was like, oh, I love listening to this, and that's like a feeling that I search for in my music, and I feel like you will always continue to hit that with different songs, but Body definitely ticked the box for me, for sure. Trouble I made with Jared James, who's just a G. Like I love that man. He's like a big brother to me, and he has such incredible taste, and he kind of reduces what he does production wise before it even is output for him. A lot of intentionality in his sounds, a lot of texture, and his project that he dropped last year, I believe. The name's slipping me, which is horrible, but PM? Anyway, crazy R&B cuts in that album. There's that one song, it's like, California dream, California please me dry. Just crazy shit, and I think it got slept on, and I love him, I love his taste. We went for like a real kind of like percussive textured verse, and I think it was getting like, it feels like it's gonna maybe lift into like a pop moment or something, and then it's like that really cool anti-drop Brockhampton inspired voicing in the hook as well. So yeah, we've made a few songs together, but Trouble is high energy, and so happy that it's out, because just yeah, right in the middle of that R&B hip hop shit that I love. Anomaly is the best song that I've ever made. It's my favorite song. I don't think I could replicate it if I tried, but just the way that Luther's production allowed me to kind of step into it. Like, it's not doing too much, but it's like doing everything that I could ever like hope for, you know, in a sonic sense. And I made it on a trip to London. Luther was amazing. We locked in for like 2 days straight, just did like 8 hours on both days, made like 5 songs. And that was one of the really special ones that we made. And Anomaly, particularly the second verse, which I cut when I was back home in Sydney, is just, I think, my favorite piece of like writing melodically. And I feel like I get to be showy with my vocals, but in a tasteful way, you know. And I'm just really, really proud of that song and how ethereal it feels. And I get really inspired by like falsetto harmony layers, and particularly love a lot of what Sabrina Claudio does in her music as well. So I was really trying to get that tiered entrance of harmonies and texture, and just that feeling of like euphoria, you know, that comes with just the perfect chord that you can make with your own vocals, which I just love. So yeah, Anomalies, I mean, at the moment, my favorite song on the record, for sure. I went to Melbourne. Tentendo had some G-Funk cuts on his hard drive, and I said, give me that. Give me that. Having an R&B crossover on that, you know, West Coast spooky leads, and just obviously the crazy, like, 1010's always right on the money, but with like getting the essence of something, but then having his own version of it as well. Like, he's just such an incredible, well-rounded producer as well. So I feel like it's really cool to have a G-Funk cut with an R&B top line over the top, and I tried to do some like Nate Dogg inspired like pre-choruses and play with my voice there as well. And yeah, it was really exciting. I spent a week in Naarm making music, and it's nice to make a song and then, you know, a week later be like, I'm putting this out. So yeah, shout out Tentendo. We've done a song together before, Daisy Chain, which is still one of my favorite songs on the discography. So I'm sure we'll make a lot of amazing music still. Sideways Part 1 and Part 2 was just originally just one song with the beat switch at the end, and I think the project was 9 songs deep at that point, and my mind needed to be satisfied by seeing the 10, and I liked separating the two. So Sideways Part 1 is very much my like pop infused, Outkast inspired song, you know, with a lot of that crazy kind of voicings as well, which I'm very inspired by Andre 3K for that stuff. And I don't know what fucking genre you would call that, but it's just like, I don't know, I can imagine it on like Coca-Cola ads and like very syncable song, but is also just like this crazy, like my version of, yeah, I don't know, it's one of those songs that like I couldn't tell you what genre it is, but I love it, and it feels right to me, you know. So when the box gets ticked for me, like in the feeling sense of things, and I know that I've done what I was supposed to do with the song. And I made that with Club Angel as well. So I think we made that back at the Glady ages ago, and Leon Knight came through and helped me write some of the pre-choruses. I've never been cheated on, but it was just like fun to entertain that idea and pretend to be like all cranky and like just a little bit like manic and unhinged in that sense, which comes back to like me kind of stepping into different like characters or embodiments of voices and things like that. So really fun to make that song, really proud of that. Really sticks out on the record too as, you know, a different cut compared to a lot of the more like very R&B influenced songs on the record too. So I love that song. And then Part 2 is just like the best R&B top line I think I've done to date. I just love all of my influences show on that last track, you know. It's a minute and a half or something, but like I listened to a lot of Lucky Day, and I listened to Sir and Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean's verse on Biking, where he's on like that. I love the percussiveness of that, but also like the awareness of like melody while that happens too. So being able to bridge that in Sideways Part 2 was really, really fun. And I think I've tried that on a few demos before, and that was the version where I was like, finally I found the one that feels right. So yeah, Part 1 and Part 2 of Sideways are very special, kind of like inversions of each other in that sense. So perfect way to close the record for me personally. Shout out Finbar, one of my favorite producers in the country, in the world potentially. I think he just moved in with me, so I think we're like 30 songs deep now. So that's like the next 2 mixtapes probably. But we made Giants, second or third session, like that we'd kind of spent making music together, and, you know, really listening to like soul lecture mixes and things that were really up that soul top line kind of energy. And it just feels really nice. I think I was really starting to step into like finding my falsetto and different parts of my voice at that point in time as well. So it's nice to have that real soul hook, and then those real like Anderson Paak kind of structured verses as well, with that texture and like a little bit of grit, you know, talking about Saki on Wheat Bix, like just random shit, but it's like stuff that just like tickles my brain on lyrical and melodic levels. Yeah, Giants just feels like the honey of the record, you know. It's like the sweet spot. It's the little breather in between some of the other weird shit. I have not been listening to a lot of like disco melodies or like funk tracks lately, because I just haven't been listening to music in the same relationship that I've had with it in the past, but for some reason my body just wants to like scream like James Brown and make random funk shit and like distort the mic and just be like the most controlled version of like chaotic that I can be, you know, and just like express. I can't put it into a sentence, but I know why James Brown was fucking screaming, you know. So Strawberry Season was just an opportunity for me to do that. I made it with Love Me Do, which was very appropriate because he produced the opening track for my EP earlier this year. So he opens the project with me this time as well. He's just incredible taste, like across the drums, and he played the bass line, which is disgusting, crazy like little phasery stuff, you know, just a lot of textures in that song. And that's exciting for me as an artist because it's indicative of like the music I'm gonna make. Like I feel like I could make an album's worth of Strawberry Seasons, you know. So yeah, really exciting to kind of like discover that side of my artist project, you know, with him, and very honored to work with him as well. So yeah, Strawberry Season is bodacious and sexy, and I wish I could make it again, to be honest, because it was a lot of fun. Mama, please don't listen to this song. Please. Didn't mean what I said. I just wanted to have a cocky middle finger up, like fuck the world moment, you know. It's the writing's like funny in like a self-aware way to me, you know. I feel like there's lines like, oh, like water on my neck, like la 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 in hip-hop a lot, and people use them like unironically, and I'm like, I've heard that before. But it's almost like my version of being just like an obnoxious rapper or something, you know, just for 3 minutes, because that side exists in me and in like the range of my music as well. So I had to let that caricature out of me, you know, which is why in the visuals I'm on a kitchen top, like spraying champagne everywhere, because I think there's a little part of everyone that just wants to like, I don't know, pop champagne in the middle of a restaurant and just say like, fuck the Matrix, you know. So yeah, Garnier is just one of those things where like I was playing the Seth Century shows, always close with that song, feels really great, and then you just like, oh, this is an all ages event, and I just said eating booty like bacon. Like, how do I apologize to the mother in the audience with just my eyes, you know, while I continue to say more horrific things to the 6-year-old that they've bought? So yeah, sorry to the kids in Adelaide that heard that, but I hope it introduced you to some nice music.